I still remember the way the afternoon sunlight spilled across the quiet street, making everything look peaceful, almost beautiful. But that illusion shattered the moment I reached my best friend's old family home. The front door was slightly open, the curtains barely moved in the warm breeze, and an unbearable silence hung over the place like something had already gone terribly wrong. My friend had only sent one short message before boarding his overseas flight: "Please check on Mom. She hasn't been herself lately." I thought it would be a simple favor, one that would take only a few minutes. I had no idea that before the sun went down, an elderly woman would look into my eyes with unbearable fear and whisper 5 words that would change both our lives forever. "Please don't leave me alone tonight." Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can change someone's life and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone you love, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Legacy. Your support helps us continue bringing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. It was early afternoon when Rowan parked outside the small white house. The neighborhood was peaceful, children were riding bicycles, neighbors were trimming their gardens, and nothing suggested that loneliness was quietly destroying someone just beyond those walls. Rowan had known his college friend Garrick for almost 15 years. Garrick was one of the hardest working people he had ever met, recently accepting a year-long engineering assignment overseas. Before leaving, Garrick had admitted he felt guilty about leaving his widowed mother behind, but she insisted she would be fine. Rowan had promised to stop by whenever possible, never imagining how desperately that promise would be needed. The house looked neat from the outside, but stepping inside revealed another story. Dust rested on furniture that had once been polished daily. Several unopened letters covered the kitchen table. A forgotten cup of tea sat cold beside the window. The television played softly in an empty room, almost as though it existed only to keep silence away. Then Rowan found her sitting on the back porch. Her name was Maris. She had always been cheerful whenever he visited years before, always insisting everyone leave with homemade pie and warm smiles. But now she looked smaller somehow, wrapped in a gray sweater despite the summer warmth. Her tired eyes struggled to recognize him before finally managing a weak smile. She insisted she was fine, just tired, but Rowan noticed details that couldn't be ignored. She had barely eaten. Her medications were scattered without any organization. Several framed family photographs had fallen from a shelf and remained on the floor untouched. Every room carried the heavy feeling of someone slowly disappearing while the rest of the world continued moving. Instead of rushing home after checking on her, Rowan decided to clean the kitchen. He organized her medicine, washed the dishes, prepared a light lunch, and fixed the broken picture frames. Little by little, the house seemed to breathe again. Maris watched quietly, occasionally thanking him with watery eyes that seemed to carry years of unspoken loneliness. As afternoon drifted toward evening, Rowan prepared to leave, believing everything would be all right now. That was when Maris suddenly reached for his hand. Her fingers trembled with surprising strength. She looked directly into him, no longer pretending to be strong. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered the words that froze him where he stood. She begged him not to leave her alone that night. There was something different in her voice. It wasn't ordinary sadness. It wasn't simply fear of being alone. It sounded like someone standing on the edge of giving up, desperately hoping another human being might notice before it was too late. Rowan quietly sat back down. Without asking difficult questions, he simply stayed. Sometimes the greatest kindness isn't finding perfect words. Sometimes it's refusing to walk away. As the daylight slowly faded, Maris finally began speaking about the months after her husband had passed away. Friends visited less often. Neighbors assumed she wanted privacy. Her son called every day, but phone calls could never replace a familiar voice echoing through the hallway or another plate placed beside hers at dinner. Every evening became longer than the last. Every night felt heavier. She admitted she had begun sleeping with every light turned on because darkness reminded her how empty the house truly was. She confessed something even more heartbreaking. For several nights she had secretly wondered whether anyone would even notice if she simply disappeared. Those words hit Rowan harder than anything else she had said. He suddenly realized that loneliness could become invisible. Someone could live in a beautiful neighborhood surrounded by people and still feel completely abandoned. Instead of pretending everything would magically improve, Rowan made dinner using whatever ingredients remained in her refrigerator. They ate slowly while talking about ordinary things. Old vacations. Childhood memories. Funny stories Garrick had told in college. For the first time that day, Maris laughed. It was quiet and fragile, but genuine. After dinner Rowan noticed old gardening tools leaning against the back fence. Maris explained her late husband had loved growing roses, but after his death she could never bring herself to touch the garden again. The once colorful flower beds had become patches of weeds. Without saying much, Rowan walked outside. For the next hour he pulled weeds, watered dying plants, trimmed bushes, and cleared broken branches. Maris watched from the porch, sunlight painting soft golden colors across the yard. She smiled more during that single hour than she probably had during the previous month. The following morning Rowan expected everything to return to normal. Instead, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He returned the next afternoon carrying groceries. The day after that, he fixed a leaking faucet. Then he repaired loose steps leading to the porch. Soon neighbors began noticing someone visiting regularly. Curious conversations slowly turned into acts of kindness. One neighbor started delivering fresh bread every Friday. Another offered transportation for medical appointments. A retired teacher organized afternoon card games every Wednesday. What had once been a forgotten house slowly became part of the neighborhood again. Weeks later Garrick returned unexpectedly for a short visit. He was shocked. The lifeless home he remembered had become full of flowers, laughter, and visitors. His mother looked healthier. Her smile reached her eyes again. Family photographs stood proudly on polished shelves instead of gathering dust on the floor. When Garrick learned everything Rowan had done, gratitude overwhelmed him. But Rowan refused every attempt to repay him. He explained that friendship was never about keeping score. Months passed. The small acts continued. Maris eventually started volunteering at the local library, reading stories to children every Tuesday afternoon. She baked pies again. She hosted neighborhood lunches. She even restarted her husband's beloved rose garden, planting dozens of new flowers in memory of the man she still loved while finally allowing herself to embrace the life she still had. One bright spring afternoon she quietly admitted something she had never told anyone else. The night Rowan stayed with her had been the night she had planned to stop taking her medication altogether and simply let life end on its own. She had become convinced nobody truly needed her anymore. But one unexpected visitor, one warm meal, one conversation, and one person willing to sacrifice an evening had interrupted despair before it became irreversible. Rowan struggled to hold back tears. He realized that heroes rarely wear uniforms or receive awards. Sometimes they simply answer a message asking them to check on someone's mother. Years later, the neighborhood celebrated Maris's 80th birthday. The backyard overflowed with children chasing balloons, neighbors sharing homemade food, and blooming roses covering every corner of the garden. Garrick stood beside Rowan watching his mother laugh with people who had become family. He quietly admitted that if Rowan had treated that visit like just another favor, he might have returned home to a completely different ending. Neither man spoke after that. They simply watched an elderly woman who had once believed she was completely alone become surrounded by love she never expected. Life rarely changes through dramatic miracles. More often, it changes because one ordinary person chooses to stay when everyone else believes leaving would be easier. Today, somewhere in the world, someone may be silently carrying the same loneliness Maris once carried. They may smile during the day while falling apart every night. They may never ask for help directly. They may only whisper a few desperate words, hoping someone hears them. The greatest gift we can offer another human being isn't wealth or perfection. It's our presence. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who may need this reminder today, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy so together we can continue spreading stories that inspire compassion and hope. Rose special request, in memory of every parent, grandparent, or loved one who has ever felt forgotten, please comment, you are never alone. Because sometimes saving a life doesn't begin with extraordinary courage. Sometimes it begins with answering one simple request, checking on someone's mother, and choosing not to leave when they whisper, "Please don't leave me alone tonight."